Today we're going to take a look at a bunch of different versions of the Civivi Elementum, kind of a side-by-side comparison, especially of the newer releases. Now, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this is the one with the Tanto blade. And then, of course, I've got this Fidget factory of a knife. This is the button lock. So once we're all done, you should have a really good idea about which one of these maybe is or isn't the right one for you. And if you happen to see something that you really like, make sure that you check down below in the description, because that's where you're going to find like all the links to buy, and if there's any coupon codes, that'll save you some money. So what in the heck is so special about these Civivi Elementums? Well, to simplify things, you're getting, when you get one of these, it's Wee Knife Company type of quality, but it's all at a Kershaw price. I mean, you can get one in like the micarta that you see here, ebony wood, and even though I know this is a little bit on the heavy side, but this is that copper, there's also another one in brass too. If this is your first time here, hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Jay. Go ahead and consider clicking on that subscribe if you're looking for knife reviews. They get right to the point. I know that some people like to consider this a spear point, others like to call it a drop point. You know what, honestly, that doesn't really matter. What does is this hollow grind, because what that is going to translate to is a much thinner and sometimes even sharper edge. All of these on the table, the blade thickness, exactly the same. Yeah, even the much larger button lock, they all measure in at about 2.95 millimeters. And there's just going to be like two different blade steels represented here. So we've got, of course, the D2 and then the 14C28N. And then the D2 is going to have the better edge retention, but the Sandvik here is much better with corrosion resistance. I was super excited when the button lock first came out because, it's a much bigger 3.5-inch blade. I kind of thought that Civivi would throw on a forward finger choil, but as you can see, they decided not to. What kind of stinks is that you're not able to really cheat and like just use your fingertip in there on the choil, because yeah, it feels kind of awkward. And you know how tough it is to even try and consider this a forward finger choil on the D2 versions, but hey, at least, at least it's better than what they did on this on the button lock. And this situation kind of reminds me of the way that I feel about blades that have, just that like barely noticeable recurve edge, like you see here on this Benchmade. I mean, it's like, why even bother having that? Either make it a recurve or don't. And I know that there's benefits to having both types of edges, but apply that same thing to the choil. Either give it a full finger choil or don't. Because all that does is it just takes away that valuable edge real estate, and that's kind of a waste. And what do you think about these new pocket clips that Civivi's starting to use? Well, not starting to use. I know they've been doing it for a while, but it is a transition. I'm a big fan. I kind of like how this scoop looks. Instead of like on the old one, it's just got like that kind of shelf going on, but both work fine. It doesn't really matter. But now, at least now, you can fit way more, look at that, way more pocket material under the new one than you can with the old. And I can honestly say that I've never had a problem with like centering on any of my Elementums, and blade play, nope, never had a problem with that either. I love the larger size of this button lock. Well, and that whole, of course, that whole Fidget factor deal. But this really does need thumb studs, or even, scratch that. Maybe not even thumb studs. Just the ability to be able to like kind of open this like a slip joint, because yeah, the good old pinch and pull, you're not able to do that with the button lock. And I honestly thought that I would go ahead and attach one of those quick thumb studs. Man, was I wrong, because the blade, it obviously locks open, but that's why you can't pinch and pull this, because, yeah, it locks closed too. That's exactly why the only way to open this knife is, just by pushing that button. Now, if you're kind of worried about, I don't know, causing a scene when you're opening one of these in public, because, come on, let's face it, swinging this thing open, it's a good time, but it's not at all, it's not discreet. So what I like to go ahead and do is I'll just, if I need to quietly use my knife, I'll just go ahead and like press the button, let it drop, and then go ahead and just do a slow roll the rest of the way open. And at just over $60, I think that the asking price, I'm okay with it. I sure wouldn't mind if they switched the blade steel to D2, especially with this coated finish, because then you would get the best of both worlds, because you get the great edge retention from the D2, and then you'd also have like enhanced corrosion resistance because of the coating. Now this one is the Tanto Elementum with the dark brown matrix micarta handle scales. The other one, I don't know if you've seen it, but I didn't like the pattern on the other micarta. It kind of reminded, this is going to sound nuts, but it almost reminded me of like the carpeting, in like one of those like basement bar, like they would be like at your grandma's house or uncle's house or something, like when I was a little kid. Yeah, that room, like it's got like the dark wood paneling. And of course, one of those little bumper pool tables that converts into a poker table. And what basement would be complete without a bunch of those like big maple syrup colored glass ashtrays like everywhere? Yeah, the ones that feel like they weighed about like 25 pounds a piece. The traction on this guy, it's not too bad, but it certainly is. It's nowhere near as grippy as like the regular micarta on all of those other Elementums. I will say though that the out of box action, let me show you. Oh God, yeah, that is friggin' fantastic. I mean, it's the absolute best action. When I compare it to all the other standard Elementums that I own. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know. Sometimes, especially with the G10 ones, it seems like whenever I get a new one of those, the action is a little bit, it's a little bit sluggish. Not a huge deal, just has to be broken in. I'm sorry, I got to do that action again because, God dang, is that nice. Yeah, this one, it was good to go fresh out of the pouch. Now, even though like both blades are the same, so the Tanto and the drop point, exact same length, the Tanto, it kind of feels shorter than the drop point. The primary edge is really, really short, obviously. And since this part of the edge is the main section, I think it creates sort of an optical illusion, especially when you got both of these side by side. Yeah, I know it's weird. And I do not see that same type of effect when I'm looking at the brazen, because both of these, that's a 3.5 inch blade. Now look, I'll admit, I'm picky about my Tanto blades. I like one specific type, and it's that kind which has the like rounded secondary edge. Yeah, with a little bit of belly on this keen natter. Oh, I got another one I wanted to show you too. It's got the same thing. This is the concept Fusa. You can see, yeah, it's got that the shorter edge. It's got a little bit of belly. Oh yeah, I love that. There's absolutely no denying the fact that Tantos are extremely useful blade shapes. I mean, the most used section on a knife, at least on mine is going to be the blade tip. So what I really like about this is that, okay, so if one starts to dull or, gets rounded, that's okay, because then you've got another tip that you can go ahead and use. I almost forgot. I wanted to go ahead and do just a couple quick cuts with both of these real quick, just to see, if how much of a noticeable difference there is. So using the Tanto one first, let's switch to the drop point. Oh yeah. Well, you know what? This actually makes a lot of sense, because no hollow grind on the Tanto, and then absolutely a hollow grind. So yeah, see, that's about that, the thinner, sharper edge that I was talking about earlier. The only other issue that I have is just the pocket clip. And, come on, this is coming from a lefty, because, they're still not showing us any love. Hey, they had no problem doing it with the new, with the button lock, because that's, 2-position clip. But, still not doing that. And I kind of wish that would change. All right, so after looking at all of those different versions, which one, yeah, right, like a knife person only buys one of anything, which Elementum are you planning on buying? Or, hey, sound off down in the comments, which ones do you own? If you're at the other end of the spectrum, okay, and you're kind of tired of the Elementum, make sure you go ahead and check out the video that is up on the screen right now, because that is all about, it's like a big list of my favorite Elementum alternative knives. All right, so I got to run, and thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I will see you at the next video. See ya.